At the time of filming this, I haven't even posted the first Pinterest and chill yet, so hopefully you like that, because if not, tough luck, I guess. I don't know. If you're interested in home design and you're here for the unplanned, chaotic vibes, subscribe below. All right. Immediately, a fascinating interior design choice. I'm sure it feels very fun, like when you're a kid and your parents are like, okay, sure, set up a tent in the house, because how else are you gonna entertain your kids? But okay, let's go to my interior design Pinterest board. I love this kitchen. It's very simple. And actually, this just has the thing that I was, oops. This has the thing that I was just talking about in my previous video with, no, stop it. Can I not zoom in? Is that, it's not, there we go. These towels, these hand towels add such a good pop of color. Between that and the green on the top of the stool and the yellow for the lemons, I think this is just a really good kitchen. It's really simple. There's not a lot going on, but the combination of the white and all of the wood and then this stainless steel for the range, it just blends so seamlessly together. And I think I mentioned this in one of my virtual makeover videos, but I really love how these light pendants, both the pendant itself and also the cord, are white so that they blend into the white wall and ceiling. And it really, I know everyone loves like a statement light or whatever, but you really don't need statement lights everywhere. Like, the whole point of a statement is to be a statement, and if everything's a statement, then nothing's the statement, kind of. So I really love how simple those lights are. This one I had to pin. I think we're seeing a trend here. These was bags are popping up everywhere. So shout out to Paige Wassel for being an innovator. I also specifically love, well, I love this wall color. But then I also love this sconce. I got a free floor lamp that's this exact style off of Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or something. And I just put the floor lamp like between my bed and my nightstand, and it gives off the same sconce vibes. I like the candle. I like when candles are actually like used. Don't freeze on me now, Pinterest, please. Okay, we're just gonna reopen Pinterest. This is giving me like elevated college dorm vibes. Like, it feels, I think it's the tapestry, the little tapestry that's hung on the wall, in combination with this little seats mini couch thingy. But yeah, I really like it. I like the, stop it. I like the burl wood for this, no, stop it. Please, please. Well, while we're stuck here, I really like the burl wood of this cabinet. Oh, restarting Pinterest again. Okay. Don't zoom in on things, Medora. Ugh. Okay. I just pinned this because it was neat. I don't think that it's like a particularly efficient use of space, or I don't know that it's like the best decision for the space, but I think it's neat. I don't know. And I assume that that rotates so that you can just have the wood facing out when you don't want people to see your coats. I don't know. I think this is really neat specifically because it's interesting to dream about what you would do if money were no object, because this is clearly a very custom bar build situation, and DIYing something like this would be, I don't want to say impossible, but like pretty dang hard because of all of that metal. And I can't tell, I think that's upholstered. I think that's not wood. But yeah, this would just be like incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to DIY. And I don't know, it just gets me thinking about like what I would do if money were no object, which I think is a useful thing to do, specifically because I think that dreaming is important. It's really easy, especially when you don't have a lot of disposable income, to immediately cut things off and not even consider things because you know that you can't afford it. But I think sometimes you really just need to let yourself dream. I actually really love this kitchen. This is a kitchen that I keep being drawn to, and I really, really love that it's not too precious. It's clearly a kitchen that like gets a lot of use, but I think that's what makes it beautiful. right? I feel like kitchens that are like so brand new and so perfect, just there's something about it that feels off to me. And I think it's with how perfect and unused it is. And I really love a kitchen that feels like there's a lot of love there. I'm starting to get a headache. I think this is a really neat example of how a small space can be designed really well. Obviously, the architecture plays into this, like that neat thing on the ceiling that I assume moves to let air and light in. That's really cool and fascinating and definitely adds to this whole space. But like, this is a pretty small space. Like, you could just line the edges of a really small room with IKEA bookcases, throw in some of your favorite art, put a table in there, and get a very similar vibe. This is fascinating specifically because I think it's just another way of thinking about art and ornament and decoration. Like, these are just a couple big pieces of plywood, not even like particularly pretty plywood at that. And I think it's just, stop it. I don't know, I just think it's an interesting DIY idea that, I don't know, maybe I'll have to do in here. Stay tuned. This one I pinned specifically because I can't tell if this is a commercial space or a home. And I think it does a really interesting job kind of blurring the lines between that. Because these tiny little tables over here make me think that it's a commercial space. But then there's the couch, there's the table lamps, and it's overall a really cozy feeling. And I never thought about it before, but I think that these tiny little tables could be a really interesting solution for like a larger family or something where you each want to be able to like have your own little spaces within the larger common spaces. And that could be a solution for some people. I don't know. A lot of these I was pinning for specific videos, so you might recognize these from a few of my past videos. This I just thought was hilarious. I assume this is in a bookstore somewhere, because that would not make a lot of sense for like an actual house bathroom. Definitely not very sanitary, but fascinating nonetheless. I have really been into like a shiny lacquer recently, and I think it can really bring like an interesting dimensional pop of whether it's color, like in this case, like with red, or just black and white. This was funny. I did pin this for a recent video, but I did not get around to actually putting this in the video. I thought this was hilarious. This feels like an art teacher's critique of an art student. And it says, "This is a purely decorative piece of art that is apolitical and designed perfectly to fit over your fucking couch." And maybe it's just my background in understanding like art critiques and stuff like that, but I find that hilarious. This is really interesting use of material. I know I shouldn't be zooming in more, but these like giant cinder blocks to make a console table, this would really only work if you don't need that space for storage. Obviously, there's a lot of like bar storage stuff going on top of there, but that could be a lot of good, useful storage space that just isn't being utilized. And if you don't need it, by all means, go for it. But yeah, this is like a relatively affordable way to get a piece of furniture when you don't have a lot of money or you don't have like a giant truck or something to move a giant piece of furniture. Each of these blocks is probably around like $5 or something. I could be wrong about that, but like, again, you can move the blocks individually. It's a little more accessible in that way. This I did put in a recent video, but it just feels so cozy. If you watch that video, this was inserted where I mentioned my kitchen and like a separate seating area. This is not at all what I have in mind for that seating area, but mostly I just really loved the overall vibes. Super cozy. This one, I love the choice because this was very clearly an intentional choice to do like all stainless steel, right? You've got the shelf is stainless steel, all of the pots and all of the colanders are stainless steel, this other shelf is stainless steel, all of the measuring cups are stainless steel. It's just, it makes for a really, even though there's a lot going on, it makes for a really cohesive space. I think I put this in another video also, but I'm surprised by how much I like this space because it is so modern. I think what I really love about this space specifically is the orange faucet. Just adds a fun, playful element to it, which I think is missing from a lot of like really minimalist modern spaces. And then I think this tile does a really good job at adding in warmth, which is another thing that's also missing from minimalist modern spaces. And then I actually also really like this bathroom. It's very similar in a lot of ways to the modern bathroom. Very similar color scheme. You've got the pop of orange, you've got the light colored warm tile, but it's a very different vibe because everything is much more traditional. And I love both of them. I think this could be a really fun DIY idea to paint giant stripes on an armoire. I love how simple and refined the space is. I do wish there was a little bit more color or personality or like humor or something. But yeah, overall, I really love the color of the walls, the color of the lampshade, the flooring is beautiful. But yeah, it's missing a little something. What would I put as a pop of color in here? Realistically, probably just like flowers in a vase on the table. Although I think maybe having 2 ottomans or a bench across from this couch. I'm assuming there's probably like a television or something just outside of the frame, but this is probably pretty out there. But I would like maybe consider a bench upholstered in like a neon green pleather. I think that could be a really fun addition, or like just something like that, something that's a little bit more unexpected. Stop it, I didn't try to click on you. This just feels super cozy. I love the sconce. I love the way that the art is hanging. I love the color of the couch. I love that the couch looks like it's been lived in. Stop it. I like the simple coffee table, and I like that it's a taller coffee table. It feels much more practical than some of those really, really low coffee tables that we've been seeing recently. Oh, and then here I was pinning a lot of tile ideas. I think I was going to talk about tiles. Oh, here's another good example of relief sculpture that I mentioned. I think it was my first interior design yums video. Again, super classic, ancient, interesting, and I think there's actually another one near here somewhere, possibly. Maybe not. I think this was in another video recently, or maybe I just put it in the thumbnail. I don't remember. But I've been really into this kind of like, is it mustard? Is it green? Is it brown? It's kind of like a baby puke green. I've been really into this type of color recently. Yeah, I don't know. Something about ugly colors just gets me. This I just thought was a hilarious installation. Not much to say about it. The thing with something like this is that you really have to commit and you have to like fill up the entire space. If you don't fill up the entire space, it looks bad. This person committed and filled up the entire space, and it works, even though it's so strange. Speaking of strange, they might actually be comfortable to lounge on, I suppose, but also anything that's that custom has to be expensive, and I feel like you probably wouldn't want to do a lot of lounging on that. So again, it's a design choice. I was at one point thinking of making a custom trash can out of plywood, because I think this is probably the prettiest trash can I've ever seen. I just really don't like trash cans. They're so ugly. And even the ones that are like designed to be cute are still very like in the way and clearly a trash can. Whereas this feels much more architectural and intentional and integrated with the space. Oh, here we go. Here's that other relief sculpture that I was thinking of. Don't love that the top of the cabinet comes in. I wish that it was just a full cabinet, like all the way to the sides on the top. I thought this was a really neat idea of a way that you can organize your space without using boxes or plastic or like buying new things. Like this is just some push pins and some old lace trim. And it clearly fits the vibe that this person is going for with their little wicker basket and their like cute perfume bottles. This is just a great example of a mood board and like how to put together a mood board. Oh, this is like an automatic one generated by Pinterest. That's kind of creepy because like when I scroll, it like clicks on the thing. Okay, I'm gonna stop being creeped out by AI now. I found this specific kitchen really fascinating because I feel like most modern cabinet makers or designers in general would encourage you to have your doors going all the way up to the ceiling and to not cut it off like that in multiple levels. But I actually think that this is a really smart use of space. I think it really ties in to the more traditional feel of this kitchen. And part of me wonders if the ceilings were already too tall in here and so they wanted to kind of make it feel shorter. Another part of me wonders if like that skinny of a door, if it were going all the way up to the ceiling, I feel like it would probably warp relatively easily with any like fluctuations in humidity. So maybe that's part of the reason why they chose smaller doors. I don't know, but I like it. Oh, this one, I'm obsessed with black soapstone. And so I love everything about this. I really love getting inspiration from like old working kitchens, if you can't tell. Like that, I love a big table in the middle of the kitchen. That, I love the old telephone there, even though that would absolutely not get used in today's world. With this bedroom, I feel like these sconces are placed way too high for my personal taste. I would love for those to be lowered like at least a foot, if not 2. And like if the switch is on the sconce, how are you supposed to reach that when you're laying down in bed? I'm confused. I love the organization that's happening here. I love a pegboard. I love hanging baskets. I love all sorts of vertical storage. I think there's maybe a little bit too much going on with the like that like cheese grater in the little crate. That feels a little unnecessary. And this is definitely kind of a lot of art in one space, but I think it works. I really love this stainless steel prep table with all of the storage underneath. I think that's really great. I love, also specifically, I really love that the corner is actually a corner and it's not like the rounded edge that you'll typically see. Just a nice little detail. This confuses me. Like, do you really have that big of a studio that it all needs to be like open plan, but you can't? The bed in the middle of everything feels like very strange energy to me. I like the bed itself. I think it's a really neat bed frame. But yeah, that placement is not doing it for me. And there's no nightstands. Does anyone use this bed? Is it just for like adult parties? Like I'm confused. And then I think I'm gonna end with this one. I just keep coming back to this one. This is such a timeless, beautiful space. I love the linen bedspread. I love how it's way too big and how it's styled up and over the pillows. I love the giant artwork. I love how it brings in some of those warmer tones because without that, this would be a very black and white space, but this really warms that up. Along with the nightstands, I don't love the open storage on the nightstands, but I love that the nightstands are circular. And I really love the like thin, tiny little lamps. So I think we're gonna end it there. If you'd like to support this channel or get live one-on-one design sessions with me, head over to my Patreon at patreon.com/medorakia.